After reading the comments on that last video about SQL TPG, I thought I'd take a break from fucking around and instead share some actual tech tips when working with databases. So this is another NSFW Not Satire for Work OCG lecture. One caveat before we get started: yes, obviously, always and never are exaggerations. There will be specifics to your situation that may call for things to be done differently. But I've seen system after system where not following these recommendations leads to a lot of extra time spent on troubleshooting and makes your enhancement and deployment process much more difficult. A key fundamental principle for any system that manages or queries data is that data will fuck you. Data is where 90% of the variability comes from that creates future problems. Data gets bigger and your code runs more slowly. Data has unexpected values and shit breaks. Data will fuck you. Each of these recommendations are intended to make it harder for you to end up fucked by data. So, 1. Prevent nulls from existing in your database. Define columns as not null and make sure to set a default value. Timestamps are the only value type that doesn't have an implicit blank value, but you can solve that by using far past or far future dates for the default value. This is probably controversial for many of you, so to prevent a religious war, I'll just concede that I don't know what I'm talking about. I said I was wrong, Kyle. Let's just move the fuck on. And putting this together, this enables you to prevent the nulls but still be able to insert without having to provide explicit values for every column. This also ensures that new columns continue to work with old app logic during a deployment or after a rollback. Number 2, use GUIDs for IDs, don't use integers. I'm not going to explain this, but there are about a half dozen reasons. Simply put, you're heading off a lot of headaches by just using GUIDs. Third, when your app needs the current date time, always use the database, even if you need the value in your app tier code. Even slight clock synchronization issues between database and app tiers can create problems that are hard to track down and really hard to resolve. And never rely on a client device or browser for the current time. Okay, number 4. This could be a whole day-long seminar by itself, and it's hugely controversial, so buckle up. Use your database only to store and retrieve data. Do not use stored procs or functions. Yes, there are exceptions, but mostly no. I can tell just from the device accelerometers that most of you are shaking your phone in rage and confusion right now. This is too big of a topic for me to talk the pitchforks and torches out of your hands with the brief time we have left, but I'll just say that once you absorb this concept and appreciate the implications of keeping code and storage totally separate, you'll never look back. Yes, you'll be the lunatic in the room for a while, so I suggest you bookmark this video. Nothing says you should be taken seriously more than citing a bushy-haired internet madman as your primary inspiration. My final point was directly inspired by someone who made a comment on the last video to the effect that performance only needs to be considered for systems with a lot of data. This is shitty advice, and this philosophy is probably the single biggest factor in why any given app performs badly and sucks resources. Don't be the dipshit who says, but it runs great on my local machine. Query optimization is not that hard to learn, and once you get the key components, it's easy to incorporate in all of your implementation work. That's it for now. Tune in next time to Old Man Yells While Shaking Fist when we talk about how when I was your age we used to go outside sometimes, and whether people who are not pirates should be allowed to have tattoos.